Welcome to the 6th chapter of the book of Jesus, Joshua. It begins, and Jericho, Jericho in English, was closed up and fortified from before the sons of Israel. It was a walled city. I was reading on Wikipedia about how Jericho is considered to be one of the world's oldest inhabited walled cities. And today it's in the West Bank under the Palestinian control, and it's a city of about 18,000 people. It's still around. And it mentions here, and no one went forth from out of it, and neither entered. So it was completely walled in, and people couldn't come and go. And Kyrios said to Esun, Joshua, Esun, the same name as Jesus in the New Testament, "Behold, I deliver up to you Jericho under your hand, and its Basileia, king, Basilica comes from that, in it, and the mighty ones in strength. And let all men of war circle the city round about." Kiklo, a cycle, comes from that word. Polemu, polemics, argument over words. Polios, metropolis. All these are in our English derivatives book. And you can see how they are related today. So let them circle the city once. Thus they shall do for 6 days. So every day for 6 days they go around it once. And 7 priests shall take 7 keratinas, horns of the eovil, the ram, which is a Hebrew word, before the ark. So all these soldiers are going to be going around with 7 priests. I'm not sure if they'll be before the ark or if they're after, before the soldiers. And it's interesting because here we got 2 different words for the same thing, and I have a hard time with this because a kerat is a horn on an animal. Keratinas, horns of the ram before the ark. Now that's called a shofar when you use it as a horn to blow. Shofar. And on the 7th day, circle the city 7 times, and the priests shall trump the horns. Now I'm thinking, well, if they have to go around the city 7 times, you're going to be too tired to go into battle. But this is what God is saying. The 7th day is a day that's mentioned many places in the New Testament. The Old and the New Testament in the Bible. 7 days to create the earth and so forth. So 7 times the 7th day, again 7. And the priests shall trump. Now see here, this word salpiusin is the trump. Generally a salpinx is what they trump, and a salpinx is a metal horn. And I've used this in many places, and where it says that the Feast of Trumpets is, and Jews blew the ram's horn. I was always teaching that, well, this is really not a ram's horn. The trumpet is a metal trumpet. But here it uses that word for the horn of an animal. So what I've taught there previously is something to be studied, and I think I might have been wrong there because apparently they use the words interchangeably, so I'm not exactly sure. I suppose if it said metal trumpet, you would know, and if it says a horn of a ram, you would know then it's a shofar. The metal horn is not a shofar, it's called a trumpet. And it will be as whenever you should salpisate, the verb of the salpinx, here's the salpingi, the trumpet in the dative, whenever you should trump the trumpet, then of the eovil, of the ram, so that makes it a horn. In your hearing the sound of the horn, keratinis, there it calls it a keratinis from the horn, akuse, acoustics, phonein, a phone, derivatives. Let all the people shout aloud. And with their shouting aloud, the walls of the Polios city shall fall by themselves underneath them. And all the people shall enter, each advancing in front into the city. That's wherever he's at. He goes into the city in that spot. And Jesus, the son of Navi, Nun in the King James, entered to the priests and said to them, You take the Ark of the Covenant, and 7 priests shall take 7 horns of the ram, according to the front of the Ark of the Lord. So here they are all in front of the Ark. And he said to them, saying, Exhort the people to go around and circle the city, and let the ones for combat come near, arming themselves before the Ark of the Lord. Now, so it sounds like that the army was going around first, then the ark with the 7 priests in front, and then the people following, apparently, best I can come up with. And it came to pass, as Jesus spoke to the people, that the 7 priests, having the consecrated trumpets, the 7 consecrated trumpets, also went by likewise before the Lord. They passed and signified fervently, blowing. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed after them. So we can see this picture of all these thousands of people going around. And the ones for combat came near in front, and the priests were trumpeting the horns, and the rest of the multitude all together after the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, and they were quiet. It says that, I think it was the last chapter. One's going and trumpeting with the horns, that would be the priests. And to the people, Jesus gave charge, saying, Do not yell, well, I guess it's here, do not yell, nor let anyone hear your voice. The imperative, don't let them hear it. There shall not go through from out of your mouth a word, until whenever He, that is God himself, declares a day to yell out, and you shall yell out then. And the Ark of the Covenant of God, having gone around the city round about, immediately they went forth into the camp every night after the going around the city. They went back and spent the night there. And on the 2nd day, Jesus rose up in the morning, and the priests lifted the ark of the Lord. And the 7 priests, the ones bringing the 7 consecrated trumpets before the Lord, went forth. And the priests were trumping the trumpets, and after these, the ones for combat entered. And the remaining multitude altogether were behind the ark of the covenant of the Lord, going and trumpeting with the horns. Now, behind the priests were doing that behind the army, apparently. And they encircled the city on the 2nd day, once near it. And they went forth again into the camp. And so it was done for 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day, the expedition rose up. An anabasis is what Xenophon's anabasis, when the Greeks went against the Persians, an expedition at dawn. And they went around the city according to this practice 7 times. Only on that day they circled the city 7 times. And it came to pass in the 7th circuit, the priests trumped with trumpets, and Jesus said to the sons of Israel, Cry out, for the Lord delivered up the city to you. And the city will be an anathema, a offering for consumption. Anathema is mentioned in the book of Revelation also. it, and all as much as in it, to the Lord of the forces. So the things, it will be destroyed, except for certain things will be saved. And we'll go here and show you what those things are. Except Ra'av, the pornography comes from that word, a harlot. Protect her, and all as much as is of hers in the house, for she hid the messengers whom we sent, in the imperative. Now, so everything that she had, protect her. And that says, for she hid the messenger. See, now the Greek, it's angelos. So it could be angels, but we know that they were sent by Jesus, Joshua. So angelos can be used for either a heavenly angel, which I use angel, and if it's a earthly person, then he's a messenger. Sometimes it can be both. So a messenger and an angel can be delivering a message. But you guard from the offering of consumption, that is, what all the things that are to be destroyed, dedicated by God for the things of His, lest at any time pondering you should take of the offering for consumption, and should make the camp of the sons of Israel anathema, itself an offering for consumption, and he should obliterate us. So be careful, don't take anything for yourselves. And but it says here, in all silver and gold and all brass, Argyrion, we have Argentina, the country of silver, Chrysion, the chrysanthemum, and Halkos, the Chalcolithic era, brass age, and iron, will be holy to the Lord. It shall be carried into the treasury of the Lord. So the gold, silver, brass, and iron things would be gathered together, not for the people, but for the treasury of the Lord. Thesavron, we have a thesaurus, a treasury of words, and like a dictionary. Thesavron. And the people shouted, and the priests trumped the trumpets. And as the people heard the sound of the trumpets, that is in Jericho, all the people, and as the people of Israel heard the sound of the trumpets, all the people shouted a great and strong shout, and the wall fell round about. And the people ascended into the city, each at his opposite, and overtook the city. So the people now shout, and a great and strong shout, and the wall falls down, and the people go in right where they're at, his opposite, and take the city, go in there and start slaughtering the people. And they devoted it to consumption, killed all the people in it. And as much as was in the city, from man and unto woman, from young and unto old, and unto calf, sheep, and beast of burden, which would have been a camel or an ass and mule, by the mouth of the broadsword. So they were to kill all of these people. It seems very cruel that the Lord would want the young and old, everybody to be killed. But this is what God is capable of ordering and wanting and desiring and commanding, a complete destruction of sin and sinners. These people in this land of Canaan were doing horrible things and sacrificing their children to Molech and various hideous rites, pagan rites, as throughout the world. And it makes me think of down in Mexico, where Montezuma was the ruler of Mexico, and Cortez came in with his small army of Spanish warriors and conquistadors, and took over. They said it could have been hundreds of thousands of people. They could have easily defeated Cortez, but the people hated Montezuma and the ruling class because of the sacrificing of the children and people and bloodshed and everything. And Cortez was bringing a relief from this and Christianity to these people. Now, today, people put this all down and say they were there. These poor, innocent, native Mexican people were just being very calm, and all of a sudden these terrible European white people came in and slaughtered them, and they're just horrible people, and yak, yak, yak. So you hear that a lot today, but here it was the same thing where these people came and destroyed the people that were doing evil. And God allows this to happen, and the respite that we have from this destruction of sinners, which we destroy, which we deserve, me, you, is a respite time called the period of grace, charis in Greek. And the period of grace is given to us by Jesus Christ, where we're not to go and kill people, and God does not just want us to be killed because of sin. He gives us a relief through the sacrifice and death and resurrection of his Son, Jesus Christ, who Jesus says, I am of the Father and the Father is in me. The one, God, came in flesh, died, sacrificed for us. So we are living in a period of grace. Take advantage of it, because it's not going to last much longer. The next period will be the tribulation period, I believe. And the tribulation period will be a time of bloodshed the world has never seen. And so here, God is capable of destroying the world because we can see here just a little glimpse of what he is capable of ordering and having. Some people would think that, well, he couldn't do that because he's a loving God. Well, it's not what the Bible says. He's a loving God to those he loves, but to the ones he hates, why wouldn't want to be in that person's position? And it continues in verse 22. And to the two young men spying out the land, who went to Rahab the harlot's house, Jesus said, You enter into the house of the woman, the harlot, and lead her from there, and all is as much as is to her, as you swore by an oath to her in the imperative. Go in and get her. And he doesn't call her Rahab, he calls her the harlot. She's a famous person, famous harlot throughout history now, Rahab. And the two young men entered the city, the one spying out the city, into the house of the woman. And they led out Rahab the harlot, Porni, and her father, patera, paternal, is from there, and mitera, maternal, from that, and her brothers, and all as much as was to her, and her kin. And they placed her outside the camp of Israel. So she was there in Israel already, it was becoming Israel, but she was placed outside the camp, was not allowed to join in with where the Jews themselves were. And the polis, the city, was burned in fire with all the things in it. So they burned it down, except the silver and gold and all brass and iron, they yielded up to be carried into the Thisavron, the treasury for the tabernacle. And Rahab, the Porni, the harlot, and all the house of her father, and all the things of hers, Jesus took alive, allowed to live, and she dwelt in Israel until the day today. For she hid the one spying, whom Jesus sent to spy out Jericho. This is interesting. Then she was in Israel, of course, because all that land became Israel. But I doesn't say she was with the people, but it says that she's there until today. Today's day, this day. So, which leads me to wonder if this book was written by someone other than Jesus or Joshua, because it mentions Joshua not in the first person. I took alive, I Jesus. It's always Joshua took alive. Uses his name. So to the day today, so somebody wrote it, and she was still there at the time of the writing of this book. And Jesus bound them by an oath in that day, saying, "Accursed is the anthropology, the man who before the Lord, who shall raise up or shall build that city, Jericho. Accursed. By his firstborn he will lay the foundation for it, and by the least of his he shall set the gates of it." And that is, they will die. And the Lord was with Esau, and I didn't highlight that in yellow, and his name was in all the land. And if we go forward to 1 Kings 16:34, during the period of King Ahaz of Israel, who was ruling this area, it says, "In his days Hiel the Bethelite built Jericho. He laid its foundation with Abiram, his firstborn, and with Segub, his younger, he set up its doors," or gates, "according to the saying of the Lord, which he spoke by the hand of Joshua, son of Nun." 1 Kings 16:34. So now Jericho has been taken, first victory of the sons of Israel. But it's short-lived, as we find out in the 7th chapter. And to find out what that's all about, hope you'll join us next video. Till then, God bless.